Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. It's our college football preview this evening as we're going to break down the Clemson Tigers taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. If you like the video today, please come and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me to break down this great game that's going to be played Saturday night, broadcast live on NBC, is the most talented, the youngest handicapper in all of college and pro football. He's only 18 years old, coming out of the beautiful state of Florida, Mr. Zach Hirsch. So please enjoy the video this evening as we break down Clemson and Notre Dame. So, Mr. Zach, you're going to take over the Clemson Tigers and tell us why they're going to go into South Bend and beat Notre Dame on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I don't think their biggest advantage is in the trenches. I don't think their biggest advantage is in the roster. I think their biggest advantage, and this is something I think is their biggest advantage almost every week, is head coach Dabo Swinney. He's now had an extra week to prepare without Trevor Lawrence, which of course is a big loss. And but the backup is talented. He is he's obviously a former top prospect, extremely big arm, very athletic, and I think giving Swinney an extra week to work with him and really find his way to fit his role into the offense. And the running back, Travis Etienne, is obviously an incredible talent. He'll be a top 10 pick next year. He's really a Heisman candidate. Their defense is very solid, and I just think they're so well coached that they're going to limit their mistakes and be able to take control over this Notre Dame game.
Okay, if you like the video today, please come and share it. I'm taking Notre Dame, and I'm going to go back into history time. I'm going to go back to 1977. This Notre Dame team of the present reminds me of a team in 1977. They went into the Cotton Bowl on January the 2nd, 1978. They was ranked 5th in the country, and they beat a Texas team that had the great Earl Campbell. And we know how that failed, 38-10. And on that Notre Dame team, they had a very good stout defensive tackle named Bob Golick, who had 18 tackles, played professionally with the Cleveland Browns. They had a guy at the cornerback position named Luther Bradley that played with the Detroit Lions. He was a first-round pick. Then they had Vegas Ferguson at the running back position. Then they had Jerome Evans. But what's so peculiar about that team, which reminds me of this Notre Dame team now, they had experience at the quarterback. They had a guy named Joe Montana out of Western Pennsylvania. And you know how his pro career went. Do I have to say it more? 4 Super Bowls. But when you look at this Notre Dame team now, and I'm going to compare it to the 1977 team that won it all, there was one thing that stuck in my mind was breaking this team down. I think about this song about a young man out of Hialeah, Florida, by the way of Miami. Zach, you might not know of him, but you will tonight. He was a guy that was a talented musician. His name was Wayne Casey. And he had some lyrics that went by this. He had a song say, "I'm the boogeyman. I'm here to do whatever. Early in the morning, late in the afternoon, or maybe at midnight." His name was KC and the Sunshine Band. So when I look at this Notre Dame team, all those accolades come over to this team right here. Experienced player at the quarterback position, Ian Brook from the 916 out there in California. What more can you say? 7 touchdowns this year, only 1 IIT. He doesn't turn the ball over. What is Notre Dame's strength? And you brought up a good point, Zach. The game is going to be won at the line of scrimmage. They got 3 good running backs that average almost 6 yards a carry. K'Ron Williams last week had 76 tough yards against Georgia Tech in the win, but he had 2 touchdowns. They got a guy on the outside, and Javon McKinley, that's averaging 18 yards a catch. But it's the offensive line. Aaron Brooks, Jared Patterson, Tommy Kramer, Lynn Eckenberg, all of them are seniors or 4th-year juniors. And they got at least 3 offensive linemen that's going to play in the NFL. Then they got some playmakers on their defensive side, Dalen Hayes. And I like Brian Kelly as the coach. Clemson right now got a lot of injuries on their D-line, and they're young. Brian Brees and Miles Murphy are great players as freshmen. But let me tell you something. On the offensive lines and at the line of scrimmage, Georgia Tech is no way near Notre Dame. By no means, no harms. So you know what? I'm taking the Fighting Irish on Saturday night, and I think they're going to make some noise. And I think when it's all said and done, this might be the team that's going to win the national championship simply because of Ian Brook, and they got a lot of experience. And one more thing, they got one of the best safety playmakers in the country in Kyle Hamilton. And you know where he's from? He's from Metro Atlanta. So this is a Notre Dame team that I'm telling you, watching Brian Kelly over the last 5 years, this is a team that's very solid. And this team right here, during all the times in the pandemic, it's a different year in college football. And this Notre Dame team especially because they got a very good quarterback who wins game by the name of Iron Book. And Clemson doesn't have, I call him Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence coming in this game. I know they got an outstanding 5-star that's backing up DJ. I'm not going to butcher his name this season, but I'm going to tell you something. It's different when you playing Boston College, and then you're going up to the history of the Golden Dome in Notre Dame. The Gipper, Nuke Rockney, Paul Horning, Tim Brown. It's a whole different ball game. And if you haven't been to South Bend, you don't know what I'm talking about. Back to you, Zach.
Yeah, I didn't want to butcher DJ's last name either, but it's pretty long. But yeah, I think Brian Kelly has obviously built a really good program there, and there's no doubt that he's one of the top college football guys out there. You know, I have him just a tier below a Sweeney or a Nick Saban, and I think Notre Dame's big undoing has been when they face the more talented roster and the better coach rosters. They tend to fall apart. We saw that great Notre Dame team with led by Manti Te'o a few years ago in the national championship, and Alabama came in there and just whooped them in every which way. And yeah, I think Ian Book, he's a very conservative quarterback. You know, he's not going to make the mistakes, and I think that's very important against a team like a Clemson or an Alabama, is to limit your turnovers, make sure you have the ball the maximum amount of times, and to take full advantage of all your opportunities. So I think you make a lot of good points. I think it's going to be a great matchup this Saturday.
The one thing that sticks out in my mind is that Clemson has a lot of injuries in their D-line. And before the Boston College game, we was kind of they recruited well there. But I'm telling you, they got injuries in their defensive line. Tyler Davis has got injuries. Xavier Thomas is not going to play in the first half. He got a targeting call against Boston College. And this Notre Dame team, they built on the line of scrimmage. They average rushing the football almost 6 yards a carry. And they got some good running backs. I mentioned K'Ron Williams. I didn't mention Mr. Bo Fister. I didn't mention Mr. Chris Tyree. This is a very good team with 3 quality running backs. And Ian Brook can run the football too. He's averaging almost 239 yards total offense. This is a Notre Dame team. Based on the situation that we had in college football, this is a team that's very well coached. They got experience on the offensive line. They got at least 3 guys I think is going to play in the NFL. Let me name their names again. Aaron Brooks, Jerry Patterson, Tommy Kramer, who I think is going to be a first rounder, and Lim Eckenberg, who's going to be a first rounder. This is a solid team on the offensive line. And the one thing, I know Clemson got great five-star talent on the defensive line. Miles Murphy, in the next few years, he's going to be a top 10 pick. Brian Breesy is going to be a top 10 pick. But you know the trifecta, they freshmen. And you're going up and you're playing Notre Dame. You're not going up to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. You're not coming down to Atlanta and playing in Grant Field. You're playing up there in the Golden Dome, where Notre Dame, Nuke Rockney built, Eric Parseghian, New Hopes, Ricky Waters, Tony Rice. This is royalty. That's why Notre Dame is the kings of college football. So that being said, and you know Notre Dame hasn't been there in a while, this is a game that's really, really in their wheelhouse. And they're going to want to prove some on the national television scale Saturday night on NBC. And I'm going to go back to again, like the great KC and the Sunshine Band. I'm the boogeyman. I'm going to be there early in the morning. I'm going to be there early in the after lunch. And I'm going to be there at midnight. Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish is going to be the boogeyman for Clemson on Saturday. Zach, final words as we talk about Clemson and Notre Dame on Saturday.
I think anytime you can get 2 top 4 teams, especially in the college football playoff era, it's really special. And I think America's going to get a great game, and I'm hoping the Tigers can pull it off against the Fighting Irish.
And my final words, first of all, thank you for Mr. Zach Hirsch, outstanding talent. He's going to be joining us here in the next few weeks as we're going to be breaking down some very serious college games leading up to the national championship, but to the Fighting Irish. And I didn't like to hear this song when I was small. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. They're gonna be the boogeyman on Saturday night in South Bend. So if you like the video, please come in and share it. I'm Vincent Turner, aka the baby boy and the only son of Chester and Inez Turner of the 901 Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you this evening for watching us here on 100 Yards of Football. Have a blessed evening.